The unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, we can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. So this morning I wanted to offer some reflections on gratitude. It said that in Soto Zen, the hallmark of a Soto Zen practitioner is gratitude. So that means if you can see someone who's practicing gratitude, who's a Buddhist, and if they're really coming across with a lot of gratitude, it's likely that they're practicing Soto Zen. Okay? Reverend Master Jiyu said that gratitude is the fifth wisdom. In the Shushogi that we talked about this morning, that we recited, there was one chapter on the four wisdoms, which is charity, tenderness, benevolence, and sympathy. And she said that gratitude is the fifth wisdom. So I wanted to offer some reflections on gratitude. Gratitude is more than just a feeling, okay? It's something that we can actually practice, just in the same way that we can practice charity or benevolence, sympathy. We can practice gratitude. One of my favorite stories of Reverend Master Jiyu is that she talked about a disciple she had that kept disrobing. He kept leaving and then coming back and disrobing and coming back. And after he did this 5 or 6 times, and every time he came back, he said, well, I just feel so grateful to be here. So after about 5 or 6 times, she said back to him, well, remember that the next time you want to leave. We can be grateful even though we may not feel grateful. Okay, it's an attitude or a practice that we can draw on and practice. I wanted to start this morning with reading something from Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna is one of our Indian ancestors, considered to be the most important Indian ancestor after Shakyamuni Buddha. He's considered the father of many of the Mahayana traditions. And I'm reading from first the large Sutra on Perfect Wisdom. This is the big scripture on great wisdom from which our scripture of great wisdom is taken. Okay? Our scripture of great wisdom is the distillation of all these words in one short scripture. This is the complete thing. And it's talking about preparations for the stages of bodhisattvahood, the things we want to do to kind of get ready to practice being a bodhisattva, a being who's dedicated to training for the benefit of others as well as oneself. A bodhisattva's gratitude and thankfulness consist in that, coursing in the bodhisattva course, they do not, throughout the round of birth and death, forget a small kindly action done to them, much less a big one. That's another thing that I remember hearing about Reverend Master Jiyu, was that she never forgot a small kindness shown to her. She always was ready to pay back that kindness. And it's based in part on another monk that lived at the time of the Buddha called Shariputra. He's one of the 2 chief disciples of the Buddha. And he always bowed in the direction of the person who had introduced him to the Dharma, to the Buddha's teaching, out of gratitude for the introduction to the Dharma. Okay, so then Nagarjuna comments on this and talks about the small acts of that we receive that come from many different sources. Nagarjuna says, some people believe that they owe their present enjoyments and advantages to their former merits and say to their benefactors, I have my own merit. What benefit have you bestowed on me? To counteract this false view, the Buddha here enjoins them to feel gratitude. Although beings have in their former lives acquired a right to happiness, they could not enjoy this happiness if present circumstances, among them the generosity of the benefactors, did not contribute something also. And when we talk about the benefactors, in Buddhism traditionally there's 4 benefactors. The first is the Buddha, the second is the parents, the people who gave us life. The third is the president or head of the state, and that represents all the various benefits that we receive from the government, such as roads and education and health care and all the various things that we receive as a consequence of being in a particular country, all the benefits that we receive. And then the 4th benefactor is all people. So we're dedicated and receive the merit from all people. That's pretty broad. So then Nagarjuna gives us an example. The seed of the corn is in the earth, but without rain it could not germinate. One cannot say that the rain renders it no service on the pretext that it is the seed which produces the corn. Although the benefits which we reap now have been planted by us in the course of our former lives, yet the respectful and affectionate disposition of our benefactors is an integral part of the benefits. Otherwise, if it hadn't been for the rain, the seed of the corn could not germinate. Even though the rain is not directly responsible, it's indirectly responsible. And likewise, our lives are dependent upon so many different factors to support us. Okay. In addition, gratitude is a source of great compassion and opens the door to wholesome actions. A grateful person is loved and esteemed by humanity, and their reputation spreads far and wide. After their death, he is reborn in the heavens, and finally they reach enlightenment. Moreover, the Bodhisattva reflects, if I want to save even those who have done me harm, when I promise to save all sentient beings, why not help those who have helped me? Okay. Reflecting on all the merit that we receive in our daily lives, I find to be a really helpful practice when I'm in a bad mood or a dark mood, and I find it's a way to cut that chain of negativity. I just start looking around me and being grateful for whatever it is that I touch and whatever it is that surrounds me. If I'm lying in bed, I start with my sheets and my pillow and my blankets and the bed and a room which shelters me from, wind and water and sun. And then I just kind of keep thinking, I go broader and broader of all the things that helps me practice, all the things that make possible my life. And pretty soon the negativity is gone. I've forgotten that, and I can be positive. Okay. In Buddhism we talk about interdependence. We're dependent upon so many different factors. All these different factors make up our lives. If you think of the word benefactor, that's even what it means. Bene means good. The good factors that enable us to live and enable us to train. I want us to look now at the scripture that we did this morning. Shushogi which is a distillation of Great Master Dogen's Shobogenzo. This is what I've got here, this big tome. This is half of the Shobogenzo. Okay, it's pretty long and pretty deep, but there's people underestimate their own ability to understand it because there's a lot of passages that are quite straightforward. And the passages I want us to look at this morning are those kind of passages. They're quite straightforward. The name of the last section in the Shushogi is called Putting the Teachings into Practice and Showing Gratitude. Another way you could say that is that we show our gratitude by putting the teachings into practice. Okay? In a sense, it's not enough to, as I said a minute ago, it's not enough to feel grateful, but we can be grateful and we can show our gratitude. And one of the ways we do that is putting the teachings into practice, practicing what we've learned. Okay? Because by doing so, we benefit ourselves, we also benefit other people. And the first paragraph of the Shushogi is, the Buddha nature should be thus simply awakened in all living things within this world, for their desire to be born herein has been fulfilled. As this is so, why should they not be grateful to Shakyamuni Buddha? We can start with our own life and be grateful to the Buddha that we have life. In Tibetan Buddhism, they emphasize a lot what they call precious human rebirth. And we have that here in the Shushogi emphasized as well. The marvelous opportunity we have as a human being. And Dogen says, since we've been born here, our wish to be born here has been fulfilled. Why should we not be grateful to Shakyamuni Buddha? Just our very life, we can be grateful to the Buddha. And then the other thing to be grateful for, it kind of traditionally is said, to be grateful for the Dharma. To the opportunity to encounter the Buddha's teaching. And all of us here have already received those two great benefits. We have a human body, and most of us have a pretty complete human body. And we've encountered the Dharma just by sitting here. We already are encountering the Dharma. Dogen says if the truth had not spread throughout the entire world, it would have been impossible for us to have found it, even should we have been willing to give our lives for it. We should think deeply upon this. How fortunate have we been to be born now, when it is possible to see the truth. And then he has a sentence that's very important. He says, remember the Buddha's words. When you meet a Zen master who teaches the truth, do not consider his caste, his appearance, shortcomings, or behavior. Bow before him out of respect for his great wisdom, and do nothing whatsoever to worry him. And that sentence comes out of the Shobogenzo in a chapter where Dogen is taking his monks to task for not respecting women teachers. And I'll just read you what it says in the complete translation here. It's in a discourse called Respectful Bowing Will Secure for You the Very Marrow of the Way. Okay. Shakyamuni Buddha once said, should you meet teachers who expound supreme enlightenment, do not inquire into their family pedigree, do not look at their personal appearance, Do not despise their shortcomings. Do not be concerned with their behavior. Simply, out of respect and esteem for spiritual wisdom, feed such persons daily with hundreds of thousands of ounces of gold. Bestow upon them food fit for the gods. Make them offerings to meet their needs, and scatter celestial flowers upon them as a reverential offering. Now, we don't take that literally, but take that figuratively. That's how grateful we should be for those who offer us the Dharma. Okay? And then he says, thrice every day, morning, noon, and evening, reverently bow to pay your respects without letting any feelings of resentment arise in you. When you behave in this way, there will undoubtedly be a way to enlightenment for you. From the time when I first gave rise to the intention to realize Buddhahood, I have trained and practiced in this manner, so that today I am realizing supreme enlightenment. So the Buddha says, this is how I did it. And if you want to realize the same enlightenment that I have, it'd be good for us to do the same. He's giving us an example from his own practice of what worked for him and what can work for us. Dogen continues in the Shushogi. Because of consideration for others on the part of the Buddhas and ancestors, we are enabled to see the Buddha even now and hear his teachings. Had the Buddhas and ancestors not truly transmitted the truth, it could never have been heard at this particular time. Even only so much as a short phrase or section of the teaching should be deeply appreciated. Again, it can be worthwhile sometimes to just reflect on how dependent we are on other people having passed on the Dharma. So many teachers and so many students have been practicing for 2,500 years, and every transmission of the Dharma from one person to another is what keeps that practice alive. And we don't know which of those acts is directly dependent upon our receiving the Dharma. But all of those acts together make it possible for us to encounter the Dharma. Okay? It creates an ocean of Dharma. What alternative have we but to be utterly grateful for the great compassion exhibited in this highest of all teachings, which is the very eye and treasury of the truth? The sixth sparrow never forgot the kindness shown to it, rewarding it with the ring belonging to the three great ministers. And the unfortunate tortoise remembered too, showing its gratitude with the seal of Yo-Fu. If animals can show gratitude, surely man can do the same. So Dogen is pointing out that we can be better than animals. We can express our gratitude. And if animals can express gratitude, surely we can do that. The story about the tortoise and the sparrow, they're two classical Chinese stories. One refers to a boy who helped a sick sparrow recover from an injury. And the sparrow gave the boy 4 silver rings in recompense. And those 4 rings ultimately led to the boys being appointed to 3 high government positions. The turtle is a reference to another classic Chinese story in which a man rescued a trapped turtle. The man came along and someone was fishing and had caught a turtle, and the man purchased the turtle from him and then released it into the pond. As the turtle swam off, it looked back over its shoulder to its benefactor, as if to acknowledge its indebtedness. Later, the man rose to a high official position, and when the seal of his office was cast, it miraculously appeared in the form of a turtle looking over its back. No matter how many times the seal was recast to remove the form, it would nevertheless reappear on the seal. Finally, the man realized that somehow the turtle had played a part in his having received his appointment, so he kept the strange seal out of gratitude. Both those stories are showing how the merit of doing good rebounds upon us. What goes around comes around. Helping a sick sparrow, who would think that that could lead to a high government position? But the merit of helping that sparrow help the man attain those positions. It's not that the sparrow somehow magically made this happen. It's that the merit of helping the sparrow resulted in a good karmic consequence. Likewise, the merit of helping the tortoise, the turtle, rebounded upon the person who had helped it. Don't underestimate the merit of small acts. Okay? We just never know when we may perform an act which will have great consequences down the road. We just want to be, as Dogen says, constantly practicing selfless activity in daily life. Then Dogen continues in the Shushogi. You need no further teachings than the above in order to show gratitude, and you must show it truly in the only real way in your daily life. Our daily life should be spent constantly in selfless activity with no waste of time whatsoever. Okay? We make use of the time that we have, the opportunity that we have. We sit here at a time when our country is relatively peaceful. It doesn't mean that we don't have problems or disturbances, but we're not being invaded by another country. We don't know how long this peace will last. It's easy to take it for granted. Make use of the time that we have now. For tomorrow it may be gone. Okay? I don't mean to sound gloomy, and I don't have a secret access to the president's foreign information, but it's just a fact that things can change on a dime. Things can turn on a dime, and we want to be making good use of the time that we have now, because tomorrow it may be gone, or next week, or next month, or next year. Make use of the time that we have now. Then Dogen tells another story. He says, time flies quicker than an arrow, and life passes with greater transience than dew. However skillful you may be, how can you ever recall a single day of the past? Should you live for 100 years just wasting your time, every day and month will be filled with sorrow. Should you drift as the slave of your senses for 100 years, and yet live truly for only so much as a single day, you will, in that one day, not only live 100 years of life, but also save 100 years of your future life. And Dogen is making reference to a story about a disciple who kept making all these offerings, lifetime after lifetime. He kept making these offerings and expecting to get enlightenment. And then, but it didn't work. You know, when you You have to give without an expectation of reward. Okay? And finally, when the man just simply gave without thinking about it, enlightenment occurred. Okay? And so he had filled every month and day with sorrow, but because he lived just truly for one day, he saved 100 days of his future life, of his present life, and 100 years of his future life. We just don't know the consequences of the things that we do and the benefit that will accrue from doing the right thing. There's, I can remember one of the monks telling the story of Tolstoy, the great Russian novelist. In the latter part of his life, he became sort of a philosopher. He lived on his estate and lived communally with the people who worked for him, and taught. And one of the things they said, there's a film clip of him at the end of his life, and he's jumping back and forth from foot to foot, and he's saying, "Do the right thing, do the right thing." Okay? So when we do the right thing, the good karma of that accrues to us. Doing the right thing includes the precepts. That's our primary guide for doing the right thing. But it also points to our own heart and our own intuition, our own knowledge of the Buddha nature of what is the right thing to do. And sometimes it's murky, and we have to act without being sure of what the right thing is. But if we have faith, we will learn from that situation. We'll learn, that wasn't such a good thing to do. And the knowledge of that just accumulates. And so over time, we become wiser. My experience is that you can cultivate compassion, but wisdom accrues naturally. It's hard to cultivate wisdom. That's my experience. But if you do your practice and do your meditation, wisdom will grow naturally. It can't help but grow. And then Dogen says, "The life of this one day today is absolutely vital life. Your body is deeply significant. Both your life and your body deserve love and respect, for it is by their agency that truth is practiced and the Buddha's power exhibited. The seed of all Buddhist activity and of all Buddhahood is the true practice of preceptual truth." And then Dogen concludes the Shushogi with, "All the Buddhas are within the one Buddha Shakyamuni, and all the Buddhas of past, present, and future become Shakyamuni Buddha when they reach Buddhahood. This Buddha nature is itself the Buddha, and should you awaken to a completely understanding thereof, your gratitude to the Buddhas will know no bounds." Dogen is kind of emphasizing again the importance of gratitude. And gratitude is one of those things that, as I said to begin with, that we can practice. And it said also that gratitude is a sign of enlightenment. But it also works the other way round. If you want to be enlightened, you can practice gratitude. If you're enlightened, you show gratitude. So gratitude, again, is one of the principal practices that we can do to realize what the Buddha realized. Reverend Master Jiyu didn't like the word enlightenment very much because it implied a state, an unchanging state. For me, I think of enlightenment as enlightening, like the gerund form of the word. Enlightening. Enlightening is training. Training is enlightening. And gratitude is one of the ways that we practice that enlightenment. So, thank you.